Once upon a time, in a room full of wonders, where every step leads to magic, and the journey of a true story begins here, with amazing guests and true miracles. Please like and subscribe for more amazing videos.
Hello and welcome to our Spiritual Miracle Show, and I'm so glad I have a very special guest here today, and thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm very curious how everything began.
Yeah, so way before my near-death experience, it had a bunch to do with when I was a child. Around 10 years old, I started developing a chronic illness that would be undiagnosed for 8 years. Extremely rare, still less than 1 in a million people are estimated to have it in the world. And that would continually progress. Then, a few years later, around age 12, I started experiencing a bunch of paranormal and metaphysical stuff. And, I saw auras and ghosts and dark things, and it was just all very confusing and very hard. I couldn't turn to my church. I was raised Christian. If you believe strong enough, you believe hard enough, nothing can touch you, God will heal you, all of these things, and that never happened. So I had a pretty rough childhood, just in illness and bullying, in metaphysical, paranormal stuff. But I never let it stop me from living my best life possible. Doctors even said I couldn't ski, I couldn't rock climb, I couldn't swim, I couldn't ride motorcycles, I couldn't drive because it might kill me. And early on, I made the conscious decision to be like, so you're telling me not to live in order not to die? That's not happening. So I continued to live my best life. I was finally diagnosed at age 18 with myoclonus dystonia, a neurological movement disorder. Very, very, very rare. And they had no really good options for me. They couldn't tell me the prognosis. They couldn't tell me if it was going to continue to get worse. They didn't really have any treatments either. So I just continued to, live my life the best I could. But I have this deep sense of knowing that I would die before I reached the age of 28. And, I didn't know how. I didn't know if it was going to be my illness or an accident or something else. So at the age of 24, I believe, I sold my house and decided to run away, basically, to die. I ran away to die. 1,400 miles away from everyone I knew, anything I knew. And I just wanted to die in a beautiful place. So that takes us to the year of 2017. And my mom never gave up hope. She was always constantly doing research. She would always be looking for, alternative medicine, Chinese medicine, alternative medicine that might, be able to heal my condition. And it still happened. She was still doing this well into my 20s, and we tried spiritual release therapy. And she heard that, these entities can attach to you and cause illness, and extremely rare illnesses that doctors don't know what to do with. It's like, okay, that sounds like me. Let's give it a try. But around that time, I came down with the flu. And whether it was the energy work flu or, a bug, I don't know. But I became even more sick on top of my illness. And a thing about the illness is I was an extreme insomniac. Zero sleep for 2, 3, 4 days at a time. Not like a cat. There's no cat naps, not 10-minute, just sleep real quick, 30 minutes. No, I mean zero sleep for days. So I'm dealing with this really painful, constant condition. It's extreme insomnia, and then I get the flu, and I couldn't hold water down, I couldn't eat, and this goes on for weeks. And my parents know something is really, really wrong, and so they book a flight to come down and see me. And in that time, my mom and I are on the phone pretty constantly, and at 2 in the morning on April 27th, 2017, I hung up the phone and basically surrendered. Like, my body, my heart, my soul, my mind could not do it anymore, and I gave up. And that is the start of my NDE.
Wow. That's a journey, yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so we can get straight into the NDE part. So as soon as I surrendered, I called out to, I wasn't even sure who. Like, I didn't know who God was, if he existed. I still believed in a higher power, but I wasn't sure who that was. But I had nothing left. And my only saving grace was, okay, I give up. If anyone is out there, if anything is out there, it's in your hands, because I'm done. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I couldn't fight anymore. Like, I was done fighting. I was done fighting the illness, the insomnia, the pain, the suffering, all of it. I was just done. And as soon as I surrendered completely with every essence of my being, everything went peaceful, everything went quiet, everything went calm. It was like these dark things were ripped from me. All the noise and the craziness had been silenced. It was the first time I felt pure serenity and peace in my life. And I heard this big booming voice, "Are you ready?" And I didn't even hesitate to question what I was ready for, what I was answering. I just said yes. Something answered me. Something's changed. So of course I'm ready. And that is when I felt 3 hard pounds on my chest, and that's when my heart stopped. And that moment it stopped is when I was completely separated from my body. I didn't go through, like layers. I didn't leave slowly. I just was gone. And I was an energetic body in this blackness. And this blackness was beautiful. It was full of energy. So we think of blackness as kind of emptiness, but it was full of energy, every possibility, every beginning, just everything. And there was our creator. And I knew that's where I came from. I was home and I was loved. There was no judgment. There was no anger. It was just, welcome home. And it was beautiful. And I didn't know exactly what had happened, but my consciousness still asked, am I dead? And when I asked that, 3 monks appear out of the blackness, just sitting cross-legged, floating by, and they're smiling at me and laughing. And I'm so curious as to why they're laughing. It would take me 5 years after this experience to realize that they're laughing because there is no such thing as dead. There is no such thing as death. And how could I ask a question about being something that does not exist? But it would take me 5 years after this whole experience to figure that out. At the time, I just thought, okay, that's curious. And they float back into the darkness, and I end up in a tunnel. And this tunnel is bright blue and white. It's vivid. And I'm going through it at supersonic speed, and it's filled with binary code. And this code is downloading into me, and I know it's amazing information. Don't know what the information is, but I know it'll come to me when I need it later. After the tunnel, I end up in a white space. It was like this endless white room. And in front of me is a pile of black numbers. They're huge. They're like maybe this big, and it's the only time I have a human-like body in this whole experience. And behind me is the 7 master teacher. And I pick up these numbers and throw them in the air with childlike enthusiasm. Like, no wonder you love creating. Because I realized at that moment the universe is created in math. And I think it was just the knowledge of knowing how the universe was created was super exciting. I then moved from this part of my experience into another place. This other place was full of other beings. And I say beings because I don't know if they're human. I don't know if they ever spent time on Earth. I don't know if they spent time on Earth, but they were an animal, if they're what we would consider aliens, different dimensions, different planets. I had no idea. We all kind of looked the same, but our bodies were very fluid and could change. I mean, I went from a robot to a snowman at a time to this like little doll looking thing. So our bodies were very fluid. And this place was semi-reminiscent of Earth. There were streets and buildings, utility poles, gravity, sky, trees, stuff like that. One of the funnest parts of this experience was I saw these beings sliding down trees covered in snow. And I was like, oh, that looks like so much fun. I don't think I like snow. Even though there's like no temperature, I don't think I like snow. And then I end up sliding down these trees covered in moss. And I'm sliding down, like if you ever seen the movie Tarzan or George of the Jungle. And I see these beings sliding down trees next to me and realize, what if they like snow? And they're experiencing a snow-like reality while I'm experiencing this green reality. We're experiencing these different realities, but together. And I just thought that was so cool. And then that's what happened instantly. So ironically, even though I didn't like snow, I still ended up as a snowman. And there were some beings working on this machine. And this machine had a flame out the top of it. I just thought, if I get too close to that, will I melt? And instantly, I'm under the machine, I'm under the flame, I'm melted. But there's no pain, there's no fear, none of that. So I'm just curious. I'm a puddle of eyeballs, and I'm curious. I wonder if anyone will put me back together. And without words, these other beings came and put me back together. The last really cool part, this was the time I spent the most in the experience, but I'm highlighting the fun parts and the most exciting parts. There was a time I had like a robotic body and I was trying to learn how to fly, and I severed my arm on a utility pole. Once again, no pain, no fear, just like, I wonder what's going to happen. And then I see the arm reattach with binary code. And I just, once again, oh, that's awesome. I was also really bad at flying, so I needed way more practice. The big thing about this part of the experience is my thoughts created reality instantly, and we communicated faster than telepathy with all the other beings. And we were one, but we were still individualistic, but we acted as one. And that was really, really cool. So that was my key takeaway from this part of the experience. As we leave this experience, there's a barbed wire fence with a little opening, and some of the beings are starting to cross. And beyond is all blurry. I can't see anything beyond it. And I just know I can't go with them. I wasn't given a choice. I wasn't exactly sure what was beyond. I just knew it was probably a higher frequency. And I couldn't go. Was not given a choice or anything. And after I watched some beings cross through the opening, I end up in the last place of my experience. And it is another dark, it felt like a small room with 7 or 8 magnificent beings behind me. I never saw them. They were more significant than the master ascended teacher I met in the white place, but not as significant as the creator I met in the blackness. And in front of me was this full-length scroll, and it's starting to be written on with beautiful golden sparkly script. And I just know it is the deepest knowledge. It is amazing. And my human ego decides to show up and says, you're showing this to a human. And just like that, the scroll rolls up, the script goes away, and I snap back into my body. And that is when I feel my heart start again. And that's a crazy feeling. You would think your heart stopping would be a crazy feeling. The feeling of restart is wild.
Yeah, wow. So, this is amazing. You could be, like you said, a snowman, and then you also said a doll.
Yeah, the
This is,
dolling too.
this is amazing because I had it's weird. I had my third eye opened because I did shamanic healing. Before that, I had a past life regression, and then I had to get healing from the shaman. And then my third eye opened, and I had a vision. It was a dream. I was sleeping, and my grandmother was already dead. She showed me heaven. She showed me the room. And there was a doll, and the doll was like a doll, not talking, nothing. And I looked at it, it was in a little playroom, and then it spoke, "You are going to be my mom in the future." And I had, the eyes came to life, and it was it's so crazy and so real. I slapped back in my body and fell out of bed. So when you said you became a doll, this is amazing.
Those people get really freaked out when I say that. You're the first person who's like, "Oh, this is exciting."
Yeah, I love it because I had to believe it because it was absolutely real. So that's my middle
Well,
child.
oh, that's so cool.
Mm.
That's so cool. You got to meet your child before meeting them in this life.
Exactly. She doesn't remember, but I've never forget this because my
She might
grandmother.
remember one day.
Yes, my grandmother, she made a promise to show me heaven. And she did. She died and she did because I said, you gotta do this. And it was with 6 or 7 years before I had kids that this, it was amazing. So
That's so cool.
I totally find it fascinating, hearing other people say there's so many possibilities, it's incredible.
Endless. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's literally endless possibilities. And that's what I found out in the start of my experience in that blackness. It was black because even light had collapsed in on itself because there were so many possibilities. Like even light stemmed from this area. Like everything started because it was endless possibilities, endless dimensions, endless everything. So this really, really, really cool. And it helps me here on this life now, knowing that, hey, that possibility exists.
So are you focusing on something that you want and you say, it's gonna happen, I know I have it. You see it, you feel it, you know it.
Yep, yep, exactly. Oh my gosh, I love that. Say it, feel it, know it.
Yes, see it, feel it, know it.
Yeah, well, and when you put that feeling behind it, that's really the power that brings that high frequency thought and slows it down into the matter. So, and it just takes some time and dedication, but it happens.
Yeah, and you didn't saw a Jesus or anything, you
Well,
thought
so
maybe.
I didn't see anybody, but I had the feeling that there was a Ascended Master Teacher behind me. And we've had many Ascended Master Teachers in our history. I didn't get clarification on who. It could have been Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha. We've had many throughout history, and I was not told exactly who I saw or felt because I didn't actually see them.
Yeah, and you felt not alone. You felt comforted by love.
Oh yeah, immense love. And even, with all the other beings, it was such an individualized experience and we never communicated, but I also felt like we were all connected. Like I would have a thought and they would be there. And then at one point we danced together as if we choreographed for millennia. So there was not a single time I felt lonely or sad or unloved or judged or anything.
Exactly, yes, that's amazing. And when after this happened, were you like, oh my God, I gotta tell somebody, this is insane, this is real? No, you kept it to yourself?
Well, so my mom's always been very open on all the crazy experiences I had. So when I first started seeing auras, she was open to it and ghosts and these dark entities. And when I saw this inanimate doll move in our home, she never disregarded any of it. She actually oh, these are gifts. Then when I was astro traveling, she would be there and listen, kind of help me through that. So Right after the experience, I was like, whoa, what happened? And it was only 8 minutes long, so not long enough for a dream. I have had hallucinations before, nothing like a hallucination. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to share this crazy experience with my mom because I always do. And I knew nothing about NDEs or out of body experiences or, anything of this metaphysical nature. My career was in construction. It was very logical, very rigid, very analytical. So I'm just, spewing all of this that happened. And my mom's just like, you had an NDE. I was like, no, you're silly. But then she got me involved in IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And my sister joined me, and we went a year later. It was in Seattle, Washington. And I heard these magnificent stories of NDEs, of, the Golden Gates, the Marble Castles of Healing, life reviews, seeing your past loved ones, all this amazing stuff, seeing Jesus or whatever. And nothing sounded like mine. I didn't hear anyone talk about the blackness. I didn't see any past loved ones. I didn't have a life review. It's like, okay, I don't think that's what really happened. And it wasn't until I think 2019 that I heard Eben Alexander's story, who is a atheistic neurosurgeon, who his brain was dead. So he really thought that NDEs were created by the chemicals, dying in the brain, but his brain was actually dead, and he couldn't have experienced what he experienced on a scientific level. And he experienced the blackness. He didn't see past loved ones or life review. He had these transitions with music where mine was with math and numbers. And that's what hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, that is what happened. Oh my gosh. And that's when I started to process. And it would still take me another 2-3 years to start talking about it to anyone outside of my mom and my sister.
Yes, I totally understand. I mean, it's amazing. And everybody, has their own experience, because the universe, if you think about it, is so many opportunities, possibilities, because it's so big. There's other planets, other things. Yeah.
Well, and I explain it like this, people who are like, why are these NDEs, so different? There's usually a common theme, or themes, but I explain it like this. You and your significant other go to a dinner party of your friends, a mutual friend even. And you get through the party, you get home, and you're just like, oh, that was amazing. I love the food. And the host told the most amazing stories about her trip. It was amazing. The music. Oh, it was so much fun. And your partner is like, oh, the food was terrible. And she couldn't shut up. And oh, that music was giving me a headache. You were both there, experiencing kind of the same thing, but you had completely different outcomes,
Exactly. Yeah, I know. And you can also have an out-of-body experience without being dead.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because we are dimensional, we can go in and out.
I love that we are finally back into the culture that we can talk about it. So I'm a death, dual, and transition guide now because of this whole experience. And I've been fascinated with the study of cultures, study of belief of death and dying in cultures. And there's a trend. Not every culture experiences this, but quite a few do, where we are terrified to talk about it. We hide it, we shove it away, we don't mention anything about it. Then we romanticize it. You see it in paintings and statues and poetry and plays, and it's romanticized. And then we go back into we don't want to talk about it, push it away. We go through waves, and we are on the uptick. We're not quite romanticizing it again, but we are talking about it. And we're talking about these experiences, and we're understanding that these are real, and no longer are people being pushed in loony bins because of these experiences, which is so beautiful to be at this time, where we can share, because it would be really sad. My great-grandmother had 3 near-death experiences. She couldn't share. She couldn't tell anybody because fear of ostracization or being put in a loony bin. So I only knew she had 3 near-death experiences. I didn't know much about them because she couldn't talk about them. So it is such a blessing to be here in this time of age where we have the technology to share across the world. We don't have the fear of being locked away or, shunned or,
Exactly, or judged for what we experienced. I mean, so you believed also in a hell or not?
So I am part of a group called Distressing Near-Death Experiences, where people do have hellish-like experiences. And my belief in hell, one, it does technically exist, a hell, but it's usually of our own creation. So people who are raised in the Catholic faith are more likely to experience a hellish-like experience because their whole life they're taught they're going to hell. You can't repent enough, you can't confess enough, like you're going to hell, you're a bad person, God hates you. So a lot of people who were raised in Catholicism believe they're going to hell. Or if there's this innate feeling or belief that, has been built into your core that you're going to hell, that you're a bad person, whatever, then I believe you can experience what we would maybe consider hell or a hellish-like experience. However, 100% believe you're not stuck there forever. You can get out. And 2, it's not eternal because time only exists in our reality. It does not exist beyond there. And eternal and eternity are time-based concepts. So you cannot be stuck anywhere for eternity. If you, don't want to stay in heaven for forever, you can come back down here and play. You can hit other dimensions, other planets, other species, all this stuff. So you are never stuck anywhere, but the people that do experience hellish, after death, is usually because of an innate feeling that they deserve it. Or, just it's either built into them or, they've done something wrong in their life, maybe committed suicide or, murder or mistreated people to a point that they're like, I deserve hell. And so it's strongly of their own belief.
Yeah. I think that
it's not eternal.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to this. I mean, people, believe with that part so many different things. But yeah, that's something we don't hopefully have to go through.
Yeah. Well, not even understanding who God was and, not believing the way my church told me. I should have gone to hell according to what my church taught me, and I didn't. I didn't experience anything like hell. I definitely didn't go to heaven, but where I was phenomenal. I got to play. There was no pain. There was no fear. There was just love, joy, and curiosity. I do know there's higher levels than where I was, but I was happy just being there, honestly. So,
wow. So you believe there's levels of you can move up. So the better you are as a human, you move up, you think, or is this just a thought?
I don't think it's not necessarily if you're a better human. I think it's if you vibrate higher, if your frequency is higher. But yeah, that usually equates to being a better human. I mean, if you are constantly lying, thieving, hurting others, your vibration is low. You're not going to have a high vibration. Where, if you do acts of service, you help people, you try to do good. You have a heart of gratitude and a heart of love. Just having that heart is going to change change your actions. And by then making you a better person and then raising your frequency. So in a way, being a better person, yes, raises your frequency, but it's more than just, if it's fictitious acts, I'm gonna do this just to get, points. That's not where it's at. You need to do it from a soul and heart level instead of just be like, oh, I'm gonna get into heaven by, giving X amount of homeless people meals. That's not how it works.
Yeah, Jesus looks into the heart too. I mean, the truth in it. You can't fake it and then expect to be in the highest. Yeah,
exactly. So you can fake being a good person, But unless you truly are to your core, that's where the difference is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, super interesting, and thank you so much for sharing. Do you have anything you want to get out, last thing, anything you want to say, like
No, just
to the people?
I guess, just try to experience your life with gratitude. It's hard being here. Being a human is traumatizing, but there is so much more than what we can see, taste, touch, and feel. Like, just open your eyes, even that one, and believe.
Yeah, that's true. And I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.